Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. And I know you are either getting sick of hearing of me, but if you've subscribed, you know that these episodes are 3 a week now, which means you get to hear this voice and my awesome guests. And today I'm bringing you a really fun one. This is an up and coming kid, and I will call him a kid because he is still a teenager, but he is what I have actual hope for Canada. And one of the reasons I have hope for Canada is because Max Genest is here, and he is working his tail off to make sure that the youth of Canada, many like Charlie Kirk did, the youth of America, are being woken up to what's happening in the country, and that you can take action and you can yourself help change a nation so that it does not continue to fall into not only tyranny, but communism. So, Max, thank you for being here, buddy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show, and I cannot wait to tackle what we are about to tackle.
Oh, we have a lot, don't we? But before we even get started, let's please address your Hulk Hogan there right behind you, because that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotta have Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I used to work in retail, so I got a little discount on it. I don't have an order to put it, so it's kind of where it is.
I think it's fantastic. I'm super here for it. When I tell my son about it, he's going to love it. He's a big WWE guy. So first off, I wanted to have you on the show. I think that your social media is awesome. I think that you're right on the right path when it comes to helping others see what's going on in the nation. And it's being really well received because you're not some 50, 60-year-old guy. You're not somebody like Laura Babcock who hates their life. You're just somebody who actually wants to wake up to the realities of what's going on in the nation and actually help others see through the veil themselves so that they can take action. Because after just speaking with Blender Media, the guys there, absolutely amazing humans. It's hard because we want to be optimists. We want to be hopeful that Canada is worth saving. But lately, oh my gosh, friend, it feels really difficult. So I love your reporting around anything when it comes to abortion, when it comes to the deficits, when it comes to breaking down debate, and it comes down to things like the new budget. So why don't we start with wherever you want to go, and we'll go from there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I think we have to address the absolute crisis we are in right now as a country. We are not doing well.
No, we are not.
No, we are really not. There has been no real growth per person in 7 years. We are dead last in the G7. And we are projected to stay that way until 2030.
That's actually a terrifying projection if you think about that from a data placement.
Absolutely scary. Yeah. 6.5 million people do not have a family doctor. 6.5 million people do not have a family doctor. Imagine that. It's crazy. Like, I can't imagine 6.5 million people in my room right now as I'm saying this. Like, it's just an incredible amount. Like, you can't fathom this many people standing on your street alone.
No.
Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy thought. And it doesn't help that the ER are closed.
Yep.
There are so many surgery delays.
Yep.
And the wait times are worsening. Food banks have hit record highs. And if you go look at the Toronto shelters, actually, I think over 50% of the people in those shelters are non-citizens.
That's terrifying.
So, yeah, that is absolutely scary in itself. And young Canadians like myself, we are fleeing to the United States.
Yeah.
We don't want to, but we have to. If we want to enjoy something called life, we have to go somewhere else. That is where we are at right now. And it's not just young Canadians, it's all our experts. We got all these doctors, all these nurses, all these trade workers. They are fleeing to the United States because they want to live their lives in peace and harmony and happiness. And I'm talking about all these people fleeing. This is the first major outflow since the 1970s.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really bad. And it's just not getting better right now. If you look at housing and immigration, those are very much connected, obviously. It's basic supply and demand.
Yeah.
But the amount of people we have coming into this country, it is unsustainable. We have nowhere to put these people. So it's basically we have to choose, do we put immigrants first or do we put Canadians first? And right now it's looking like just neither. Everyone is collectively suffering. Immigrants come here and they're shocked at how everything is in complete wreckage. You know, they're
Yeah.
just like, what the heck? The numbers are 500,000
Yeah.
permanent residents are coming here every single year. And in total, I think we have between 1.2 and 1.5 temporary residents already here right now. So that is students, that's temp workers, that's asylum seekers. And the rate is 800,000 new temporary residents arrive here every single year. 800,000. Like this, it's just absolute insanity.
It's unsustainable is what it is. When you look at the infrastructure of Canada versus the healthcare influx, we have doctors testifying at Senate subcommittee saying it is specifically bogging down our systems when it's because of the immigrants we're bringing in, whether they're documented or undocumented. And these are not doctors who are, 1 or 2 year nurses. These are people who have worked in the Canadian healthcare system for decades who are saying we've never seen burnout like this. We've never seen this many people coming in. And then we have, I believe it was, let me just pull it up here because there is a stat when I was taking a look this morning on some of the things I wanted to discuss with you. We had a new piece, what was it? More than 23,000 Canadians died while waiting for medical treatment last year alone. And we know that over 500,000 people last year alone left emergency waiting rooms without seeing a doctor. And we are seeing these numbers continue to rise because people coming into the country are being given health care most Canadians don't even have access to. Family doctors, eye care, dental care, things that are not the normal. They're being given this on asylum when in the average Canadian cannot get a dental plan, cannot get an eye plan, cannot get into an ER minimum of a 12-hour wait list. And that's if your ERs are not closing down before they can even get there.
Yeah, you bring up excellent points right there about the ER. My father, for example, I'm going to bring in a little bit of a personal story.
Please.
It's short, but it's very effective. My father, he was having some medical issues, so he rushed to the emergency room, and he was waiting and waiting and waiting. I think he was waiting for about just under 48 hours before he got to see anybody.
Oh my goodness.
And he just needed simple antibiotics, but it was, enough of a serious situation that if he would stay at home, he would probably, have died. So he had to go to the hospital and just get that quick antibiotics. And he was telling me there was this old lady who came into the ER and she said, these nurses, they told me I have to wait 6 hours. And my daddy said, I've been here for about 16 hours.
Yeah.
And she took her walker and she went, okay, I'm going to go die alone in my bed. And then she just walked out of the hospital. That's literally
horrific.
Yeah. That is where we are right now. And my father, he was sitting here and he was talking to the nurse. And he said, just out of curiosity, do people die while waiting here?
All the time.
Do people die just sitting? And the guy said, yeah, we got a procedure for that. We got a few beds ready to just pick people up. Like, they're literal dead corpse. Like, this is where we are at as a country. And, the triage system does not work anymore. This is just not working for anybody.
No.
It's not working.
Well, and to take it a step further, though, Max, too, I think what's so infuriating for Canadians is we know that there's such a massive shortage of healthcare. We're very consciously aware of it. And then you turn around and Mark Carney pledges millions of dollars to healthcare in Africa. And people have a right to be livid. Hey, let me interrupt you for 10 seconds because this actually matters. You can eat clean, train hard, you can meditate daily, and still feel like garbage if your body is overloaded with toxins. Modern life is loaded with heavy metals, microplastics, and those sticky, stubborn, forever chemicals. This stuff builds up quietly time over time and shows up as fatigue, brain fog, inflammation, and gut issues, and even poor sleep. The constant sense of being off, even when you're doing everything right, That's why I want to tell you guys about my new partners, Masterpiece by Human Consciousness Support. Masterpiece isn't some trendy detox gimmick or harsh cleanse. You guys know I do not do those. It's a scientifically formulated detox support made with microscopic organic zeolite, one of the most powerful binders, combined with bioavailable sea plasma minerals. And in plain, simple language, it basically helps your body bind to toxins, move them out safely, and replenish essential minerals inside instead of depleting you. This isn't about masking symptoms anymore or chasing those quick fixes. It's about reducing the toxic load in your body so that your nervous system, your brain, and your energy can actually function the way it's supposed to. People using Masterpiece report clearer thinking, better energy, improved digestion, and noticeably sense of calm internally. This isn't hype. It's not some miracle. It's just real changes that add up over time. So if you guys are serious about your health, which I know you are if you're listening to this show, then go and grab a bottle. And once you grab a bottle, it'll come with an extra one. In a world that's getting more toxic, and definitely not less, this one is worth your attention. The link is in the bio with the code. It's just Kelsi. Give it a shot.
Yeah, people have the absolute right to be livid. Why are our tax dollars, our resources going abroad instead of staying here?
Exactly.
It's just insanity. And that's why this federal budget that they just passed, that's why it was so detrimental. People don't understand what this federal budget is exactly about, but I'm just going to summarize it for you.
Please.
$80 billion deficit. People don't know what a deficit means. I was talking to my little brother. I don't mean to throw him out there, but he didn't know what the difference between a deficit and the debt meant. And I'm like, oh, brother.
Why don't you explain to the listeners who maybe don't know either?
All right, perfect. So basically, when the federal government, they have a budget, right? Especially what this government does, what the Liberal Party does, they like to throw something out there called a deficit. So basically, they spend more than they have. It's honestly that simple. And that money is not free. It's not free. So what they do is they have to borrow this $80 billion in order to afford what they're trying to spend. And what's even worse, actually, is they borrow the money, but there's something called interest. And what the interest is, I think the interest rate on it's every single year, and it gets gradually worse every single year. And this year is now $63 billion. So that is more than literally anything. So that's more than we spend on like public services, than we spend on, like benefits for people. All our money is basically going to burn more money. That's kind of what our biggest expense is.
Yep.
It's very simple. So we're going to see now our healthcare system is going to get a lot worse because it's not going to healthcare. It's going to burn more money.
Right.
Like, this is where we are at. This is the literal economic collapse. Like, this is the definition of decline. So, yeah, I mean, I had a very unpopular opinion, and I said I did not imagine I had an unpopular opinion that I did not want this thing to pass. I wanted it to fail. And people did not want this thing to pass. They wanted it to fail. Why? Because then we would go into a snap election, and then usually the person who calls the election, the person who is responsible for the election, especially when it comes to Christmas time, they are the people who are to blame for it. So they would eventually just suffer really bad, which would be the Conservatives and the NDP. And that would mean, 4 more years of a liberal majority government. Right now we're in a minority, so there could be a snap election in the spring.
For now,
it's For now, we are in minority.
We have what
But
we've
the
never
snap
really
election would have meant a majority, so people did not want that. But I did not want the playing politics. I did not want the optics. I just wanted it to fail. I don't know.
Well, when I look at it too, I I would like to hope it's going to stay as a minority, but then we are seeing people cross the aisle. We are seeing people vote with individuals who that was not their party. And so I'm concerned. I am genuinely concerned. How are you supposed to trust the MPs that are running in your district if all of a sudden when they get in, the prime minister promises them something in a backdoor meeting, whether it's money or votes or, this project for your area, as long as you flip to become a liberal. These are what I'm telling you. These people are morally bankrupt. And it sounds like there's a lot more in our government than we realize. And we're kind of coming to that awareness right now with this, whether it's with the new budget put forward. I mean, look at the NDP. She said very forward, Mark Carney promised me something, so I'm going to vote yes. And so as much as we don't want the snap election to be called, from the conservative side, especially around Christmas, we have to take inventory to what's actually happening to the nation. And the reality is, if it doesn't shift dramatically, this isn't just my generation or my son's generation. It's your generation that are going to be paying the price. And it's so significant. If we take a look outside of budget, just digress with me for a second. Take a look outside of budget. Let's take a look at the bills they're putting forward by Christmas on the floor right now. The censorship bills, the alienation of telecommunication bills, the looking at border bills, training teenagers, essentially giving them 3 weeks of training to protect your border, recruiting over 300,000 individuals to be a reserve force who have never picked up a gun in their life. I mean, Canada's a joke at this point and can't be seen as anything serious. That's for a damn sure. Hey, everyone. There was a point when I realized I wasn't burnt out. I was just depleted. Not emotionally, not physically. I was just training and working and thinking constantly, writing for this show, and replacing it all with caffeine and grit. And what changed things for me was fixing the basics. Great hydration, real minerals, and support for my nervous system instead of the constant stimulus. Good Living's electrolyte mix covers all of what most brands and people are missing, whether it's creatine, cordyceps, sea salt, potassium, magnesium, and thankfully, no added sugar, in ratios that actually make sense for the body. And their functional mushrooms help with focus and stress without flipping your nervous system into fight or flight. It's not exciting, it's effective. I don't use wellness products, but Good Living earned a spot in my daily stack, and I will never live without it again. If you want to feel more stable instead of more hyped, well, the link is in the show notes. Give them a shot. I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah, there are a lot of these bills that are being put forward, and there is one where they basically take your, they have access to your internet provider.
Yes,
So
telecommunications bill.
Yeah, so the government can just go to your internet provider and say, hey, if you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to fine you like an incredible amount of money. I forgot
what the exact was. It's like $1 million a day. I think it was like $1 million a day.
Yeah, exactly. It's something crazy like that. So one day you could wake up and your internet is gone and your banks are shut down and you don't really know what happened. That's kind of what we're seeing here. And then there's the Hate Crimes Act. By the way, I'm going to make this very clear. Hate crimes, hate speech. Hate crimes, not, that's more objective, but let's do hate speech is more subjective.
Right.
So basically, if I call you anything, I can call you pretty, and then you can go, hey, that is hate speech.
Exactly.
Right? If it can go literally any way the government likes. So I can say the sky is blue, and they'll go, saying the sky is blue is climate change. You're gonna get arrested. So it's an absolute slippery slope that we're looking at. And basically, if you're seen with any hate symbols, then they can arrest you.
And they get to decide which symbol is hate symbols as well.
Yeah.
That's the other kicker. Well, and the Telecommunication and Cybersecurity Act. I pulled it up because I wrote about this week, actually. And it's Bill C-8. And what it's talking about is they're claiming to protect critical infrastructure. Now, what it actually does is it turns private networks into arms of the state. And it's dangerous because the government can force companies to obey secret orders that you no longer have independent telecommunication systems. You have government-controlled digital pipelines. And so what happens is the justice system says to Bell, for example, because Bell's super corrupt when it comes to donating to Dying with Dignity and a million other things. What they can do is say, Bell, I want this person's information. And if they don't comply, which they for sure will comply, they're fined $1 million. And then they can also then say to that person, turn off their phone and turn off their internet. Now, that person does not have to be notified. That person doesn't have to be given a reason. That person can go to the police and say this happened. But then they are not allowed to tell you why. They're not allowed. You can't fight it in court. You are literally essentially kneecapped, and there is nothing you can do about it. You cannot fight back. So that in itself is horrific. And the one we just spoke about is the Bill C-9, the Combating Hate Act, which is supposed to be safety and protection, but it criminalizes expression by stretching the definition of hate. And obviously the state will decide which feelings, symbols, and thoughts are criminal. And that is nothing more than totalitarian logic. So that's problematic for several reasons right there.
Yeah, that is very, very, very scary. Because you could literally just be standing on another part about that one, about the hate crimes, or about the hate speech one, whatever, is that, or the hate symbols, is that you can literally just be standing on a corner of a street, and because it happens to be, very close to a synagogue or a church or a mosque, they can just say, hey, you are breaking this law and we're gonna throw you in jail. And it's just like, what? So this is the one thing that I really respect about the United States Constitution, the First Amendment, is that it's so broad. The freedom of speech is so broad to the point where the government can't touch it, and that's how it was designed.
Right.
So we just need like very broad sort of law like that. It's not really a law, it's just a standard.
Right. And that's the concern we're seeing, right? This is not something as simple as saying to someone, we don't like, if you're having a Nazi salute or chanting death to these people, which actually seems to be perfectly fine to the RCMP. You can seem death to Canada all you want, but don't you dare say death to Palestine. So there is this hypocritical behavior from legislators, from individuals who are in police departments. And not every police is bad. Like every police department's not bad. But I am just pointing out that, we do have people that will, the same quote unquote, the same way the SS did, I'm just following orders. And that really becomes problematic because that groupthink, that fear of losing their job, that fear of participating in life in a different way where you're pushing up against the, the social norm, that's really problematic. And so I'm curious your thoughts on, from your perspective, which is, you've been involved in politics now for a little while. You've kind of seen outside the actual reality, not the one that, the woke ideology has been feeding the younger generation. What do you see happening next with bills like this and a budget like this? How do you see Canada moving forward?
Canada needs to move forward when people just wake up and see what's going on. And the way we do that is just we keep talking about it. Like, there's just no... Okay, the thing is that I see a lot of people, they go, oh, I'm defeated. Oh, I'm blackpilled. Oh, Canada is beyond the point of saving and all this kind of stuff. Canada's lost forever, right? That kind of mentality, it just brings us back. It doesn't help anything. Because these people, they know what kind of chaos we're in.
Right.
But the defeatism and the blackpilling mentality is so widespread now. I'm looking at my comment sections, I'm looking at my direct messages on all platforms, really. And people are just like, Canada is gone. There is nothing we can do. That is scary in itself, because that mindset like we're not going to save Canada if that is the mindset of
It's
everyone
very
here.
nihilistic, right? It's very, but don't you think that that's planned? Does part of you believe that that's the plan, to build in nihilism? Or, I saw something, actually, Pierre did an interview with these two younger people. I do apologize, I don't remember the name of it. I just saw a clip, and it just, I try really hard to make sure I give credit to the people I'm speaking about. So I do apologize if somebody does come back and say, oh, that was so and so, please, I'll credit them in the bio. But he was speaking with these two, and they said, maybe we should just, maybe they're right. Maybe we just rent. Maybe we should never hope to own. And he stopped and looked at them and said, are you kidding me? Do you hear what you just said? They've broken you down so much to think that you don't have the right to own a home in this country. Do you know how terrifying, how bad and desperate it must be for the next generation, my generation, to go, you know what? We're never going to own a home. We should just rent and give in. Like, that's brainwashing, my friend. That's totalitarianism. That's the breakdown of society and slow drip mentality. So how do you combat your friends in this age when they're saying very nihilistic things? Because, I mean, that's kind of how it feels, though, no? How do you change that narrative?
I change it by, I make videos every day, and I try to wake people up a little bit. That's how I do it. When I talk to my friends one-on-one, that's a little bit more, they get more personal, and it's not just talking in front of a camera and saying a general message, it's hearing their personal stories, and that, it is depressing. Okay, there is no shying away from the fact, there is no denying the fact that this is all very depressing.
Of course.
But yeah, this whole nihilism thing, it's basically just comes down to politicians, they are never responsible for anything. They're never held accountable for anything. And we're seeing, the opposition with Polyev, with the conservatives. They are telling them on the House floor, you're doing this is bad. But they just have no remorse. They have no shame. They think that they're doing great things. And if you question it, they call you names. They mock you. They belittle you. They gaslight you, which is a big strategy. They say, no, everything is going great. You just have the wrong stats. You're just looking at it from the wrong perspective. And it's just like, dude, no, that's just not it.
Who still believes that? You know what I'm saying? That feels crazy.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. It is really bad.
So how do you individually, like as a person, other than making videos and doing your part externally to help wake up the next generation, how do you come to grips with where you live and where you're at, and maybe how people are around you? Because you do live in a different area than me, so you do see different types of Canadians. And, the people I see they've kind of given up. They're either ignorance is bliss, and I just pay attention to the four walls and the people inside of my home because it's just too much to handle. And, that's how they deal with it. And then others try really hard to pretend it's not happening and just act like it's all perfectly fine. And then there's, us who are like, we're all very consciously aware. This is a big problem. We got to do something to change it. So how do you, outside of recording and doing your part, like, how do you move forward?
It's very, 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 very difficult. I'll give you that, I have to wake up every day and I have to find a video to do. And by the way, my strategy on finding videos to do is very simple. I just look at the news of the day and I find the most stupid thing to talk about, like the most stupid thing that happened, and then I choose it. It's very, very simple. But yeah, when you go out and it is, it's very heavy, and it definitely has a toll on a human. Like, this is not really, the internet in general is not really built for humanity. So you got to kind of touch grass once in a while. You got to go on walks, and you got to do something with your life aside from the online world, which I do. And it's terrifying. I go out to my local Shoppers Drug Mart and I go buy, some candy once in a while. I go buy, just like some little things. I go walk to my Starbucks and I go buy, like a sandwich and a coffee once in a while. It's so expensive. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I know Shoppers Drug Mart, it's it's not a very good idea. Or it's not a very good example because it's well known to be overpriced. But why
Mm-hmm.
is it overpriced? Just like think
Exactly.
about this. Why? Because there's no competition. Who is competing with the Shoppers Drug Mart? If the
Just
shopper if
London
it
drugs. That's
basically,
it.
yeah. There is nothing around my neighborhood really. I mean, there used to be a 7-Eleven and it got shut down because of rampant crime. There was a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of different um shoplifting and they couldn't they couldn't afford to pay their employees anymore.
Mm.
In Winnipeg, actually, just a year or two ago, used to be the capital of Slurpees. You know, like the 7-Eleven Slurpees.
Totally. Yep. Exactly.
So Winnipeg was like the capital of like it was the world's capital for like Slurpees. Had the
Mm-hmm.
most 7-Eleven, it had the most Slurpee sales, and just in the last year alone, they closed the vast majority of the 7-Elevens in the city
Yeah.
because of shoplifting. I read a report, and it was one 7-Eleven had over $100,000
Oh,
in sales lost because people just kept stealing stuff. In just 1 year, by the way. That's 365 days. People just come and steal stuff, and that accumulates to over $100,000. So you
that's
can't really.
horrible.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's devastating. And you can't really afford to operate a store like that if you're not making any money and you're just losing
No.
money. So this stuff is horrible. We're basically not only, seeing our government pass these budgets and these deficits, but we're seeing it happen in real life.
Right.
Like my childhood 7-Eleven is now gone and there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, economically, of course, we're going to see the struggle. I mean, rampant crime comes from, in my opinion, uh, bringing in people who are not from here, who don't know how to assimilate or act accordingly, and think, that they can get away with this. If the police aren't responding to petty crime anymore, they're going, okay, well, I'm not going to have to deal with this. So what's the point of what's the point of me not doing it? I'm not going to get anything other than my hand slapped. I mean, this is a perfect example of what happens when you flood the country with people who are not from here, who do not respect here. And I know Winnipeg, I'm there a significant amount now. My partner plays for the Bombers. And so I come to Winnipeg and I see the different areas and I just look around and I'm wondering where all the people from Winnipeg are. Because when I'm in Winnipeg, I don't often see too many people from Winnipeg unless I go to a game, which seems to bring a specific type of person to the game. But that's not what I see on the outskirts. It's not what I see in town. It's not what I see near the stadiums. It's a very different place. And even where we live, I mean, and this is not derogatory, it very much looks like Somalia. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm being very honest that it's different. It doesn't feel like Canada. And listen, I'm not saying that you can't have immigrants, but I am saying that I do believe that multiculturalism is not a great thing on a grand scale if Canadian ideology and Canadian customs are not being respected or brought forward during, say, when you go to swear in to become a Canadian national citizen. We are not requiring what we used to require of people who came into Canada to participate in Canada. Like, we're just not doing it. So of course, Canada, there's that old saying, and people say, well, that's not nice, but this is the truth. If you import the third world, you will become it. That is how it works. And it's uncomfortable and people don't like to discuss it. But I would love to pivot to the economy here, because I think this is a great place to start when we're looking at this. If you're always paying out immigrants a significant amount of what Canadians need to function, to the tune of thousands and thousands of dollars a month, how do we expect our economy to thrive if we're kneecapping the pipelines and we're no longer allowing any form of exports, and we're breaking deals with the United States? And now America's biggest trading partner is Mexico over Canada. So are we not willing to say, hey, the economy is crashing due to policy and bringing in too many people that we can't sustain.
Yeah. So there's yeah, basically there is a lot to kind of unpack there, but you're exactly correct. We're seeing neighborhoods like Brampton. Oh, sorry, cities like Brampton and Surrey,
Yep.
and specific neighborhoods like in Winnipeg. We got the neighborhoods of Maples, for example. These neighborhoods, they have not been enriched; they have been replaced.
Yes.
That's a completely different thing, you know. And Canada always had a lot of subcultures, so it's subcultures. So there's always one dominant culture, and there's subcultures, which I understand that, right? However, multiculturalism is getting rid of the subculture and element. It's just one culture will dominate, and that's that. And people need to understand that it's not racism at all. It's just
Right.
your own culture is being completely erased
Yeah.
and replaced by
Exactly.
a different one. And it's just frightening, really. You ask if is this for economic reasons? Why are we just importing all these people? Is this for economic reasons? Because it doesn't look like it. Like, look at the
Right.
budget, you know? I don't really see how this is economically helping us. And the harsh truth is that this is just, if you think about why this is happening, it's happened because they destroyed the family unit. That's literally what this all boils down to. I was thinking about this over the last few months. This is boiling down to they want to destroy the nuclear family. So let's look at
100%.
how exactly let's look at how they started. They started 40 to 50 years ago by making divorce legal. That's how this started.
Right.
And then basically you have an incentive to treat marriage as just a piece of paper when it's supposed to mean a lot more. It's probably the most sacred thing in society is marriage.
Right.
And when you boil it down and when you just treat it and degrade it to a piece of paper, what happens? That's the very beginning. And then after marriage meant nothing, then children meant nothing. So you are able to treat abortion like a birth control.
Right.
And then it kept going down and down and down and down. And basically until what we have now, which is just absolute immorality in our society where right is wrong and wrong is good. And people need to kind of, okay, this is gonna sound a little bit I gotta be kind of careful with this here.
You never have to be careful on this show.
Okay. Basically Western civilization, it is about basically two things. It's built on Christian values and it's built on Roman law. And the thing that keeps
Canadian values were Muslim values, Max.
No, Mark Carney was unfortunately wrong on that one.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there.
Okay. So Western civilization, it basically boils down to a rule of laws and morals to keep those laws up. And once you have the morals that are just gone, then the laws don't mean anything because there's no one to actually uphold the laws. So we're seeing across the country, judges don't really care about the laws anymore.
Right.
They're just going like, oh yeah, you killed a few people. That's okay. You're going to get community service and you're going to get house arrest. Like that's just the norm nowadays. And wokeism is just a tool to destroy Western civilization. it's just about immorality altogether. So let's look at, like I said about divorce, let's look about abortion. Now let's look at feminism. What is feminism? Feminism is a radical, insane ideology that basically tells women, okay, you don't need a man, you don't need children, you only have
Right.
to focus on your career path, and everything is going to be okay, everything is going to be normal, you're going to be a strong, independent woman. And if you don't do that, then you're going to be looked down upon, and people are not going to like that. So you got
Right.
to kind of follow this social norm, and that's what they created now.
Mm-hmm.
So um yeah, a, a lot of my friends, again, I don't mean to out anybody here, but a lot of them
No,
are a little bit
please.
older than me, and they don't have any girlfriends. They're completely, well put together young guys. They have stable jobs. They're very respectful. They're very mature, but they can't find any girlfriends because it's not their fault. I'm looking at them and I'm like, wow, these guys are complete stars. It's just they're telling me these horror stories. They're going on dates and these women are abusing them. Literally. Like, one of my friends, he went on a date and this woman basically ordered the most expensive item on the menu, and then she just ghosted him after.
Right. And
And it's just not worth it for these guys anymore. So it's just so sad, really. And then you have all these things that are happening, and then what happens then? The birth rate is stagnant. People stop making babies. Duh. So the economy, so there's the fear of the economy collapsing. So they import a bunch of these people. And then at
right.
the same time, they tell white people, the dominant people in this country and in Europe and in America, your race is garbage, your people are garbage, your history is garbage, you should be ashamed of it. Your ancestors did horrible things. Why
Mm-hmm.
should you continue your bloodline? So all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff is being ingrained in people's mind. It's literally being like is being like brainwashed in it, like
Yeah,
quite literally. And then people are like, "Oh, I don't want to have any kids."
that's it.
And then you have these foreigners. Do you think these foreigners actually value marriage? Do you think they value, the life of their babies? Do you think they think feminism is very stupid? Do you think they value the family unit? Yeah, of course they do. They think all these white people, Western stuff is garbage.
Right.
And they think it's immoral because it is. So
Yeah.
they're thriving, they're growing, they're producing babies after babies after babies, and our
Mm-hmm.
population is being completely just squashed. And we are going to be we are going to be just non-existent. We're going to be extinct.
Well,
The
and that's
people
what they
who built this
want.
country are going to be gone. Yeah, exactly.
Well, because
It's
listen, Max,
engineered. It's not organic.
exactly. It's engineered, it's not organic, but also take a deeper step, right? So, a great example, I mean, I don't know your feelings on this, but I'm just going to go off my feelings off this. So, I'm not saying this is how you feel. I live in British Columbia, and I know that most people know about the conversation that happened of, the what's it called? All of the mass graves of the Indigenous children from the residential schools. So I live here. We went through that whole song and dance of the orange T-shirt and the orange square on social media. Blah 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 blah. Now, what that led to, which by the way still has been unsubstantiated, still no graves dug up, still no bodies, still no LIDAR, still absolutely nothing. And all it really did was set in motion an idea that you stole Canada and that all white people should be ashamed of their culture and their history, when really it was white people who came in and took over this frozen tundra that seemed like nothing and turned it into this bustling metropolis that it is, the successful place pre-liberals. And so we have this idea now that led into things like compelled speech, which is a tyrannistic fall, and it really does lead towards socialism. And then you have things like that moving on next to land grabs, which I truly believe the incentive for a land grab is to give it over to a tribe. And when the tribe is unable to look after it, fund it, or support it, the government will step in and say, here, let us help you. They will purchase out the land, and the land will go from privately owned to publicly owned by the government, publicly owned to privately owned by the government. And it is nothing other than a land grab. And they are once again using the indigenous population, who unfortunately are not smart enough to see what they're doing. And they are going to take them over again for a second time. Now, they have two narratives going around this. The one is that it was stolen. And then the second narrative is that, well, we're entitled to it because that's what our treaty stated. So they can't seem to get their own story straight. You had treaties, you signed documentation, and then you were given pieces of land. It's not that we stole it from you. There is something that happens in life. It's called being conquered. At least you were given a treaty.
Exactly, yeah. And they go, well, some treaties were broken. Yeah, some treaties were broken.
Yeah.
They were treated very unfairly in some cases. However, what they don't really see, and I have noticed this one, back in the day, right? Back 100 years ago, they were conquered, and once they were conquered, they weren't treated very fairly. So the government was the problem then. And who is the problem now? Who are the villains? Who are the perpetrators that are making their lives a living hell? It's not you and I sitting in our homes just paying taxes into the system. It's the government once again. Who manages those taxes, right? Who controls their lives? Not us. It's the government. Always has been the government. Always will be the government at this rate. So we have to kind of make them a little bit more awake that it's not, racism. It's just the government is taking advantage of you because you are a vulnerable target. If you were literally any color of skin, they would still take advantage of you. It's not because you're native, you're right. It's just because that's this.
That's the narrative.
You are vulnerable, yeah.
They're a vulnerable population, Max, and that's what you're seeing. Yeah. So they're telling young people of the next generation to hate themselves because you are stealing land when no one stole your land. You were conquered and given a treaty. Yes, that doesn't mean things went well, but that doesn't mean that you get to teach the next 200 to 300 years of people that were born in Canada that they're bad people. Does that mean, just like in America, for example, does that mean that every white person in the South now has to pay reparations to somebody that wasn't born then? I don't think so. That's obnoxious. Look, bad things happen in history. How far back do we go? Should we start going all the way back to Genghis Khan when he ran through village after village, raping and pillaging? Do we owe those people money and land too? Because time after time, land has changed hands. Look at Russia, even in your lifetime, even though you're just a young child. In your lifetime, my friend, Russia has gone through multiple wars with Ukraine, and they have pushed back. They've taken Crimea. They have got a war again now. So this is no different. That's what's happening with Israel and Palestine. This is no different than the Chinese CCP slow drip that is happening in Canada with, the Chinese working off of Salt Spring Island during COVID, or marching on the, on our land, or having their navy in the West Coast. This is a communist country, and having Chinese police stations. I said this on an earlier episode with another guest. Chinese police stations stationed in Kelowna and Toronto and Vancouver for Chinese dissenters. I mean, Canada's being conquered. Don't get it twisted. It's just not being done the old way. It was done with, bows and arrows and guns. It's being done slowly by making an entire population think some way or shape or form that they're bad people for stealing land. And to be honest with you, Max, I think that the whole conversation around compelled speech is very valid right now. If you're looking at the schools, if you're looking at elementary schools, kids are being made to recite this like it's truth. And you know as much as I do, if you repeat a lie long enough, doesn't it become the truth?
Yeah, exactly. Like if just everyone believes the lie collectively, that's what it becomes. It becomes the truth.
Exactly.
And yeah, our education systems, that is a very scary one.
Right?
I just got out of the education system.
So I can only imagine what you were taught over the past 5 years.
Yeah, I have this one situation, this one story that I kind of like to tell. And I was in history class, and I had this teacher and he was, there's like a projective board or whatever, and then they can just,
Yes.
project images on it. So he showed a picture of the Confederation.
Okay.
And he said, "What do you see here? What is the one thing that seems to repeat itself?" And then some girl said, "White people." And he was like, "Exactly, they're all white." And I'm like,
wow.
And then someone said, "There was no women." And then he was like, "Exactly." And I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? Like, how is this progressive at all? Like, I understand you call yourself a progressive, but how is this progressive? All I see is just this being regressive. Because if you look, who is the person who approved the Confederation? Queen Victoria. So I don't really see how there's, no women. Also, these people, they're not very consistent because they say, well, there was no brown or black people. That's not totally true, because
maybe because they weren't here.
Maybe because they weren't here, but also, if you look back at, I believe it was Nova Scotia, there was supposed to be no segregation in Canada, and what happened was the governor of the land at the time, the person who was in charge of Nova Scotia, for the British, right? This person was segregating all of the blacks, and one person in Scotland, well, born in Scotland, but in the British Parliament, said, "Hold on, this is not good," and they told that British officer, that British governor, whatever he was called at the time, to basically stop the segregation. Who is that British guy who was born in Scotland? Who is that? Henry Dundas, the person that they removed from the Toronto street name there. So that is just insanity. It just doesn't connect. I just don't get it. Not all history is black and white. A lot of it is very gray. Yeah, they do, because that is what creates the division. Because if you look at history for what it is, and if you actually get fairly educated on it, you start to realize this stuff is not black and white. It's a lot of gray. Some people were doing bad things, but those bad things were being stopped by good people. And those good people happen to be the colonizers, the settlers. Look at the native population. Without the native population, we would have not have known what to do. A lot of our expeditions would have failed. Like, how do you think we found the best beaver fur ever? We talked to natives, and they said, the best beaver fur is near the Hudson Bay. And we were like, "Thank you very much." And we went and we collected some beaver fur.
We didn't shoot you in the face after. We're like, high five, here's some of our trading, and we moved along.
Exactly. So a lot of it was very peaceful, but they like to focus on the bad aspects, on the aspects that there was shooting, there was segregation, there was conflict, and they use it to just divide everybody. This country was built from the ground up. We cleared the land, we survived horrible conditions, and now we're here. And everyone who was born here has everything handed to us on a silver platter. That's just what we did to build this land. And I think the people who built this country, they had no idea that this country was going to be so successful. They just kept working and working and working and working. And now we're here. Like, this is paradise. It's an amazing first world country. And why are we being told to hate it? Like, if you hate it, go move to Africa or go move to the Middle East. Like, go move to South Asia and see how it is there. You people obviously need some wake-up calls.
Hey, everyone. One of the things that keeps coming up on the show and people are asking is, how am I able to do it all? And again, how many high-functioning people are actually running on survival chemistry? They're productive and they're driven and they're getting things done, but their nervous systems are cooked. And most of us, well, we're taught to push harder, when the answer is actually how to fuel better. See, Ketone IQ gives your brain the alternative energy source that doesn't rely on a stress hormone or endless caffeine. It's steady, it's clean, and it doesn't hijack your nervous system. I use it when I need clarity without agitation and before long recording days, deep thinking, writing, or just conversations that really matter to me. This isn't about grinding more or the hustle culture. It's about performing without quietly burning yourself out. And if that resonates with you the same way it did with me over 2 years ago now, then Ketone IQ is worth trying. The link is in the show notes. The code is Kelsi. Go give them a shot today. This is the other part I think people are struggling to wrap their brain around, is that there is a stark reality between the truth, and it's okay for history to be violent. Do you really think that people gave up their land just because they gave up their land, because they felt like giving up their land? Or we don't have to be naive about it. People were violent. The Vikings came into Nova Scotia in Canada. Look at their settlements. Do we think the Vikings were always peaceful? No, but do we also think that Genghis Khan was peaceful? Do we think that Mao was peaceful? Do we think that Putin is peaceful? Do we think that any dictatorship, or look at North Korea, for God's sake? I don't hear any left-wing propagandists saying over here that, well, we should go free North Koreans when they've been starving to death now for how long? So my point is that if we keep teaching the next generation that history is supposed to be some beautiful, peaceful thing and that there was never violence, I mean, the world is fought in wars. The Middle East has been at war with itself and now everybody else for thousands of years. Before we fought the Taliban, the Russians fought the Taliban, and the Americans helped the Taliban fight the Russians. It's like, it's always, who's the enemy at the time? And my friend of my enemy is my friend. So we have to have a real reality check in Canada and understand that, sure, we would prefer history not to be violent, but to shift hundreds of years and say that something is this, it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it factual. It makes you an idiot for teaching it and trying to change a narrative. You don't get to go back and change history because it's uncomfortable for you. People still had slaves. Guess what? There's still 10.4 million people in sex slavery today, according to the United Nations. And I don't hear anybody squawking about that unless it's Alana Stott. So when I am talking about things like slavery and all of these things, they're only so focused on the Western world and they're unwilling to look outside of it. Because if you did, you would be disgusted with the reality of the people you're importing to Canada, like the Iraqis, who just made sex and marriage from the age of 18 to 9-year-olds legal. These nations we are bringing into Canada, the Afghanis, the Pakistanis, the Iraqis, they all follow a doctrine that allows for pedophilic behavior. And then when they come to our nations in the UK and the Western world, we wonder why they think it's okay to rape little girls and gang rape them. And then they wonder why they go to prison. This is not because history is peaceful. This is because history is violent, and this is what really happens. But if we keep teaching the next generation that this doesn't happen, we're doomed to fail and to be completely eradicated by the Islamic extremists that are coming into our nation today. And when you have people like the head of Hamas, who is the financier for the last war, in Canada with 3 different Canadian passports, and they don't know where he is. I bet they check Surrey, they find him. But the point is, it's here. These things are happening here. But instead, they want to bang on about the white people being bad people and taking land from the Indigenous. And really, it's not about the white people at all. It's about everyone that is wanting to eradicate us and tell us that we're bad people for our history. I'm pretty sure last I checked, Black people also owned Black people. So, let's not have that conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's all about I'm better than you, and my skin color is better than yours. And it's
100%.
so, yeah, I mean, it's so ridiculous because if you look at the just little things like I think it's called the cornrows or whatnot, like a lot of
braids.
Black women.
Yeah, if you do box braids. Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of people in Black America, they wear all these braids. And when white women wear the same braids, they get accusations of racism and all this kind of stuff. That's not accurate whatsoever, because if you want to play that game, Vikings were the first ones to have those kinds of braids. And white people who are into rap per se.
Yep.
I'm not, but I know a lot of white people are into
I
rap.
am.
And okay, so I got so I got some good news for you then. A lot of
Perfect.
black people go, that is our music, that is our culture.
Right.
Not technically, that's also something that belonged to the Vikings. The rap, it comes from the word rap rhapsody. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
Bohemian
Mm-hmm.
Rhapsody? Yeah. Rhapsody. I had to say the Queen song in order to get the name right. But yeah,
It's
no.
okay.
It's like you're singing words that
Yep.
rhyme, and it's like slam poetry. And
Exactly.
they had these rhapsody battles in Viking times, and they would use them to basically show dominance. And it was
Mm-hmm.
mostly like intellectual dominance. And they would do it in a musical way. That's rap. And
Yep.
you know, so if you want to play this game of like who took what, black people took the thing of the Vikings all the way in the Icelandic regions. And at the end of the day, this thing is so stupid. Like, can everyone
Mm-hmm.
just accept these inventions that make people happy,
Right.
and all these nice creations, and can people just, just have fun with them? Human life
Right.
is not built for this insane division and this insane amount of hatred. And
Right.
I just can't stand it. It boggles my mind that it's all these leftists, and they go, stop, you're being hateful. Stop, you're being divisive. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just the guy who sees my country in collapse. I'm the guy who sees the vast amounts of hypocrisy. And you're the one who has the audacity to say I'm causing hate? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had enough, like, if you look at America, or heck, let's use Winnipeg as a great example here,
Okay.
because I live here. This is Canada's #1 place for violent crime. Like, this is the capital for violent crime in Canada.
Okay.
Winnipeg. And I'm not talking about petty crime. I'm talking about violent crime.
Like violent crime, real violent crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, like you stab people with knives and you
Yeah,
go
like
do
people
violent
get stabbed
things.
in the face, violent crime. Like
Yeah.
not words
So-
of violence.
So, it's not like you go and you shoplift, or you go and you break into a shed and you take some things. It's a lot more egregious than that. And in the north end of Winnipeg, it's well known to be one of the most disgusting parts. It's literally like the most violent crime place in the most violent crime city in the country.
Yep.
So I would not be surprised right now if a few people were just killing each other as we speak right now. I would not be shocked.
No.
And
Who would be?
Yeah, exactly. And these places, they have a lot of Indigenous Canadians who
Mhm.
live in these places, and they live amongst themselves, and they kill themselves, and they
Mhm.
harm themselves. So a lot of the crime is Indigenous on Indigenous crime, and it happens every day. But every once in a while, in the blue moon, when there's a white person who does something to an Indigenous person,
Mhm.
the media and the police and the governments on all
Mhm.
levels, they do not think twice to just go directly to the media and say,
Yep.
all right, we're going to run this, like 24/7. We're going to have a trial. Everyone's going to await the results of the trial.
Mhm.
And once the trial is over, we already have determined the winner, actually. The winner, quite
it's
literally.
predetermined, Max.
Yeah. And then what happens is the government gives the family a sum of money. And this only happens when there's a white person doing a crime to a native person. And
Right.
this is like the type of thing that makes no sense, because I care about everybody. I care about all people. Why aren't we showing this amount of care for all of the Indigenous communities right now in the city, in the North
Mhm.
End, who are just killing each other and who are causing harm? They're also like selling each other drugs, so they're ODing off their own drugs. Like, this is just insanity. And I'm tired of all of like the race baiting. I'm tired of all of the hatred and the division, because it only matters when it's a white person responsible. And I'm sorry, but like, if you care so much about native issues, why aren't you worried about the native on native crime? Like, it's just mind-boggling to me. And then once you point this out, then they're gonna say, you're causing hatred, you're causing division. No, I'm not. No, I'm not, dude.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's only going to be like that until enough people say we're done with the narrative around being hateful towards Canadians that made the country what it is. You know, it's only going to really shift, in my opinion, Max, when we start to see what happens when real Canadians who have built this nation leave. And you're getting the tall poppy syndrome, right? Where people are leaving. And I would
Hmm.
argue, yes, not everyone wants to go to America. See, I do. I like it there. It's not without its faults. Don't get me wrong. I'm not naive to what America is. I go often. I have a lot of
Hmm.
friends there in a lot of different states who believe in a lot of different things. But what I will say though is at least there's a constitution that at this time, as it sits, currently protects people like you and I from to be able to say these things, you know, who won't take our phone numbers away and our emails away and our freedom of speech and put us in prison for years just by saying, hey, maybe we should put Canadians first. So I remember these narratives, and I try to get others to understand that this is not going to change until enough of us push back and start speaking up and having these really honest conversations. And I think it was so encouraging to find you on social media because honestly, social media, people say it's just nothing, but I'm telling you, it's how I've either booked the biggest guests or got on the biggest shows in the world because of social media. And I think that the more you put content out and the way you put it out, all I see is consistent growth, and you're going to be a beautiful voice for the next generation. You know, we talked today about a lot of different subjects that people your age are not used to hearing or even wanting to understand. And I think it's because people are able to receive you because you break it down in a digestible form. You speak their language, you know what you're talking about. And, you know, I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic when I see stuff like yours and your age come out. And it's not to, you know, degrade or bring up your age to put you down in any way. It's hopeful, it's optimistic. We need more people your age to speak up and to go forward, because I do believe, and you and I had a private conversation, and I'll only allude to, in my opinion, if Pierre Poilievre's team does not pivot quickly, I don't see how the Conservatives could take an election right now. And so that's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that's yours. I'm saying I am concerned because that is my opinion. I believe his staff are the reason why he lost the election last time. He turned
Hmm.
down opportunities that were just massive mistakes. And people believe that if you go on American shows, how can that help you in Canada? What I will tell you is, based on the CRTC's rules, if you go outside of Canada, actual Canadians will see it, but they won't see you from within Canada. You need to leave Canada to be seen and to be understood. And so anybody who's choosing to run in politics, get on as many American shows as you can, because it's the only way Canadians actually hear a different narrative other than what the CTV, CBC, and Global are shoving down their throat from propaganda from the Liberal government.
I completely agree. And the Liberals, Mark Carney, he announced his campaign run on an American television show, like a late night
Shocker.
show. Yeah. So it really bothered me when Polyev, he didn't want to go on to Joe Rogan. He didn't want to
That's
go on to
insane.
Patrick Bet David. Exactly. And it's just someone advised him. I'm not going to name any names, but someone advised him to go, don't do that because it's going to look bad.
So
Yeah.
dumb. Whoever that
It,
was, you need to be fired. And I will happily say it. You advised incorrectly. Now the country is falling, partially due
yeah.
to your lack of understanding. And listen, the only reason I say that with such intention behind my words is because I have sat in front of these people who are supposed to be the aides to the MPs and the aides to these people. And the egos are so out of the control. And they come out of university with a communications degree, but they don't understand our space, my friend. They don't understand the podcast world. They don't understand how social media really works. And so when they sit there and act like they do, and then they fall time and time again, once again, the media strategy around what Pierre did was absolute dog shit and single-handedly the reason why he did not win the prime minister's seat. Now, the rest of us are left to deal with what happens when too many egos are in the room. No one's shocked. And it doesn't matter how many Canadian podcasts you go on. I don't care. There's plenty of us that are large in the company, in the country. But what I will say is you need to be outside of Canada to be heard by actual Canadians.
Yeah, that is exactly how it works. And
Hmm.
the fact that the Conservative Party just didn't want Pierre to go on anything, really, it wasn't just American television. Um, Polyev did not want to go on to Nardwar. He's this guy, and he basically, actually, it would have helped him a lot because Pierre was
Hmm.
highly dehumanized. And what Nardwar does is he contacts all your friends, all your family members, and he finds
Yeah.
your taste in music, and then
Hmm.
he gives you, your favorite albums. And
I love that.
yeah, like it makes you connect with the guy who is going to literally represent you.
And that's what
It's
you
like, what?
needed. I mean, Max, I applied. We have millions and millions of downloads, and I applied to have a conversation with Pierre. And what I
Mhm.
learned really quickly is that they're not going to talk to anybody that's not going to follow a script and not say what you want them to say. I mean, there's so many things that they left on the table, which were so tragic because he was nowhere close campaigning the way he was. And I think Pierre is a really good person, but he needs to be humanized. He needs to be seen as somebody who's going to fight back, but not pick fights with Donald Trump. That was the biggest
Yeah.
mistake he made. That honestly was just such a tragedy for Canadians because it divided Canadians even more. And the rest of us who see America as our only hope just looked at him and went, "Great, you're just as corrupt as the rest of them." And that's honestly tragic. And I guess my last question to you, Max, and maybe you might not have the answer because again, we don't always have the answers, but I am curious on your thought on this. If Pierre were to run again, which sounds like that's the plan, the Conservatives
Yep.
don't really have another real clear option. And frankly, because of the way Canada works, it's not like I don't know how Mark did it, but it's not like somebody who doesn't have an MP seat could come in and just run for prime minister. So what do you see next? Do you really see Pierre running again and trying to do this again?
So I really want Pierre to win a majority government. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone here wants the guy to win a majority government because the person who is going to lead the Conservative Party into victory will be the same person who leads Canada into victory. That's kind of what everyone is hoping. And I really want him to get a majority government because then you are literally the most powerful person in the country. You have all the powers to do what you want to do. And if he fails to do that, then we know what his case is. He's just liberal light. And the harsh truth that people need to understand, and that Pierre needs to understand, that the Conservative Party needs to understand, their voters, their supporters, the journalists, the activists, all the content creators in the political sphere, especially the conservative one, the liberals have damaged this country so radically to the point where our only hope of fixing it is to reverse it just as radically.
Right.
So there needs to be someone who's bold, there needs to be someone who's assertive, there needs to be someone who has a direction, there needs to be someone who knows what they're doing and isn't scared to do the right thing. And given Pierre's track record, given how he's acting right now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's the guy to do it. However, I want him to get the majority government so everyone can wake up to the idea, oh my gosh, no party works, and then we can maybe get another party off the ground, and then we can start from there. Because look at Reform UK. Look at the UK. The Conservatives have been in power for literally about a decade or a little bit over a decade. The Labour Party, which is their left-wing party, they got into power in 2024. It's almost 2026 now. They have failed more than the Conservatives have failed. So people have jumped to the anti-establishment party, Reform UK. And
Mm-hmm.
Nigel Farage has been very consistent. He's been saying the same stuff for his entire life, his entire political career. He's been saying the same stuff about the establishment, about how they're all losers. And he's finally been proven right. Because everyone's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my god, this crazy old kook who does cameos in his spare time and he says stuff like, like he says like meme words and all that kind of stuff. This guy was right. This guy was right.
Right.
This guy, you know? It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. But yeah, unfortunately, in Canada, in order for people to wake up, we're going to need the Conservative Party to fail. I don't hope they're gonna fail. I hope they're going to be really great, but I don't know. I don't know. But we have to be ready to form a new party once they fail.
Something's got to
If they
shift.
fail, yeah, something needs to happen.
You
Something
know,
needs
I
to
have
happen.
this crazy dream one day, and I don't think I'll ever do it, mainly because it's so corrupt and the egos are out of control. But I would love to just shit whip this country into gear. Like, honestly, something's got to give, my friend. And I think it's going to take an aggressive voice to do it. I don't think it's the time. I think it's going to be like another 10 or 15 years. We're going to have to see a full-blown collapse before people are desperate enough for a change like a Donald Trump. And I think that's where we're at. And unfortunately, because of the way the system works, becoming an NP and then doing the whole thing and then getting the party, I had a meeting with the Conservatives a couple of years ago, and they told me, if you're not going to follow the talking points, there's no point in even running. We won't nominate you. And I thought to myself, well, um, okay, cool. Then I guess we just have to break it from the outside, because this is where we're at.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm optimistic, man. I think it's so great to talk to somebody who's serious about what's next. And you're always welcome on. So you don't hesitate to let me know if there's something you want to talk about that's really, burning a hole in your chest that's really important. I think more people need to know about what you're doing, and more people need to know about, why you're so passionate about it at the age that you are. So if there is a place that people could listen to your show, watch your clips, support what you do, whether that's donating, subscribing, or just sharing, how can they do that?
So right now, I am very active on Instagram and on X under the username at real Max Genest
Okay.
altogether. And probably X is more accurate because that's where I'm not only posting all my videos like on Instagram, but you get more long form content since Instagram has a cap and X doesn't. Also, you get my tweets. And then if you want to help me out, if you want to donate
Yeah.
so I can get better equipment, hopefully I can start traveling places very soon and start holding people accountable at their campaign offices when they get
I
into some,
can't wait, man. Next time I'm in
mischievous stuff.
Winnipeg, I'm calling you.
Perfect. You can donate to, if anyone watching, you guys can donate to my Ko-Fi link. It's in the bio of my Instagram and on my X account. I'm also on YouTube. I'm gonna start posting on YouTube again. I'm a little
Yes.
discouraged. Thumbnails are very difficult for me, so I
You
gotta
know
find a way to
what?
do that.
Canva, my friend. Jump on
Canva, eh?
Canva. That's what I did. Jump on Canva, go viral thumbnail, slap your face, like take a funny photo of you going like this, and just pick a couple words and drop it in. Listen, I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I just got YouTube to start moving for me. So it's a long road. It doesn't have to take that long. I'm not kidding. Use AI. Ask ChatGPT. This is my page. I want to really dial it in. I really want to do it. What do you suggest I do? Everyone else is taking a look at how they can do that. Give yourself a break, man. You're just starting out. It takes time, but every opportunity I can, I will make sure to let people know who you are, because I think you are the next generation of podcasters and speakers. And I think you
Perfect.
are what we need in Canada. You are becoming, my friend, a voice that matters in a way that people can actually wake up from and be proud of. So be proud of the shit you're doing and lean in. Just start going on every platform, though. That's my only word of advice.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I definitely will. I have one more thing to say for
Say it.
anyone my age, anyone in my generation who's losing hope. One of the biggest things that gives me hopes personally is every generation. There is always, okay, so through the course of humanity, through the course of civilization, there's always one, two or three generations who build, and then the next generations, the 2, 3, they always just destroy, and then they gotta rebuild, they gotta destroy. It's always a pattern, it's always very consistent. So unfortunately, with the boomers, it was the boomers, it was the Gen Xers, it was the millennials, and those were the three who destroyed. Now the Gen Z is the one who are supposed to, be a part of the destruction as well, but we have to kind of and then our children are going to be rebuilding. So we are the last to see the destruction, historically speaking. So we're not going to live great lives, historically speaking.
That's right.
But the one thing that does give me hope is that because we have entered a brand new age that humanity has literally never seen before, with social media, with the internet, with modern technologies, with modern medicine, with all this stuff, there is a chance to turn that 2-3 into destruction, from just build. So we just continue the building instead of the destruction. I don't know if I said that right. I'm really tired, but yeah.
No,
anyways.
you're nailing it, bud.
Anyways,
you're nailing it. Listen, I think just keep going. Keep telling the younger generation that they can make a change, and they will. And the way you do it is by showing them how to do it, right? You don't just tell them what to do. You give them the tools to do it, right? You don't have to have $1 billion setup. You don't have to have financial backers. You just have to have enough grit and willingness to want to change things and sit down, whether it's with a webcam or just headphones. Do this how I started right here. Like, you do not need all the fancy equipment and all the things. You just need a willingness to want to change stuff, and you're doing that. So I will make sure to put everything in the bio so that people can find you and support you and hopefully get you to where you want to be. And I will make sure to let everyone know when this episode comes out how they can find you. Okay, so you stick with me, my friend. Everyone else, as you know, all of our amazing sponsors behind us, Ketone IQ and Good Living. They keep me functioning. They keep you functioning. And you guys can find their codes in the bio where you guys can save as well. And I will put everything in the show notes where you guys can find Max too and support him. He is a Canadian trying to change the world. So don't hesitate to reach out. And if you guys want to have him on your show, make sure to DM him. He does respond. Be nice in the DMs too. I don't like when people are not kind. And go subscribe to the platforms, whether it's Substack, YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. You guys can find us there. And if you guys want to leave a review or just share stuff, that is more than enough. And if you have a little extra to give, we have some bottom buttons there. You guys can click on yourselves. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in a few days.